All right, welcome back. So let's just cover a few things about 3.0. So the first thing I want to say is if you're looking to buy another MPC, or if you're on the sort of the outside and you're just looking to get into MPC, you've got a lot of choices. And one of those choices I want you to consider is just to kind of wait for the next generation platform of machines to come out. And that's very eminent, by the way. It's got to be coming, by the beginning of next year, or even maybe if we're lucky, late this year. Around the Thanksgiving, Black Friday time. But I doubt that because a lot of this coincides with the 3.0 beta, and part of this video is to address kind of the state of where it's at and some of the features that I think that exist and that may need some cleaning up. And so just kind of wait, because I believe that the next generation platform is going to have a hardware stack that's going to sort of launch where in music and Akai, sort of the future of where they think they're going. And so as long as you dig sort of where the 3.0 firmware is, you might want to wait. Now, if you want to go old school and rock with one of these MPCs from 2017, this is basically the hardware platform that came out back then that it's working on. There's nothing wrong with 2.0. You can do quite a bit of stuff, but the 3.0 firmware is likely to grow in other directions that just will supersede what this hardware that you're looking at now probably won't be able to implement those features. So I'm just happy if these MPCs here that you're seeing will rock the 3.0 in a very solid and firm gold master. So that's why it's important for all of us beta testers in the public beta to really voice your opinion. I know it takes about 10 minutes to fill out the form. There's a features request form and there's a bug report form. But it's very important because we want a real solid 3.0 more sooner than later. And we don't want a gold master that's missing some stuff. And I'll get to that in a minute because I'm going to go through a short list of things that I wanted to talk about. All right, so the first general improvement, believe it or not, so let me just go delete some bars here. Okay, and then... Okay, so the first general improvement is the fact of the matter is you could always stack and layer and record sounds in the MPC, but you couldn't do it from the internal controller pad. The pad on the MPC, you had to use an external controller like I have over here to the left, or the keyboard. So stacking a drum sound. So I'm going to hit double press the main button. I'm going to look at the tracks menu. And so I got Fat Rock. Okay. And I've got Car Deluxe. Okay, so let's play with these volumes. And now, because of 3.0, it's really basically a MIDI merge issue that they kind of had as it relates to the internal controllers. So now look. So now you can do a stack, or triple stack, or quadruple stack, whatever you want. Okay. Another kind of nice thing, I think this is new, is the MIDI filter was only available in the main page on that slide out mixer tab, and now you can get to it from here. So now you can access your modulation, and you can cut out the filters and cut the MIDI CCs, and you can do it right from this page. And that's a very welcome implementation. Very minor, but very welcome. So I actually, it's a pretty big deal. If I remember, and I'm just noticing this now, is that now this shows the decibel level right here. If I remember, 2.0 didn't do it. I'm just noticing this now as I'm making the video. And I'm not sure if that was the MIDI volume on 2.0. I'll have to go back and cross-reference that. But this is actually the program volume. So I'm in a key group instrument, and this is MIDI volume is measured from 1 to 127, 0 to 127, and then decibels are actual volumes of the actual program itself, source of the program source, which is measured in decibels. So nice little welcome change. I think that is a change though. So okay, so that's one improvement. And of course you got the long press to get to the sub menu, which is really fantastic because you couldn't get to that before. You had to go back to the main page and go into there. So that is a nice feature there. So one other little nugget that they added was the ability to address the track length. You could always do that, the track length within a sequence, but you couldn't. You had to do it in terms of beats only. So 4 beats in a 4/4 time signature would be 1 bar or 1 measure. Here, if you hit tab, you can now address this as bars, beats, and ticks, which is great. There's a slight, it's not a bug, but there's a slight bug where when you change something, this automatically goes to a 24th of a tick. I don't know. So you have to kind of watch yourself on that. Like if I go into here and create a sequence, I use a Q link and I'm going to make a 4-bar measure. That automatically goes to 4 bars. And so then you have to go change it. Seems a little bit touchy, but now you can record a 2-bar measure within a 4. You can address it as bars. Okay, so hopefully that was explained properly. There is a mono bug in the key group area. So if I go into this sound called Screamer, by the way, in the MPCX, they now address the name of the track on the Q link, which is a real nice enhancement. So the mono bug. So this sound was normally programmed as mono. Okay, so let's go in here. And why it's a bug, because it doesn't do it all the time. So let's go load a sound that I know. So I'm going to load this wave sound. And this was originally programmed as mono. So I haven't 100% tested all the different combinations of how this might affect the MPC. But if I go into here, you can't see the keyboard, but I got sound here, and then the middle 2 octaves I've got no sound. Just that little cutoff. And I noticed if I change the polyphony to 2, okay, now you can hear it. So this is just a workaround. I've already reported this to Akai, but seemingly it does that on a couple of sounds that I have programmed, and by changing it to poly from mono. So one last weird example, and then I'll kind of move on from there. I'll load this bass sound. So it's going to purge the existing sound, and it's going to load the sound over it, which is what a lot of the Akai Force love was all about, because it had the automatic program management. It was fantastic, the Force. And I suspect many people like that over the MPC too. Okay, so if you play it, there's that cutting off again. So this is actually a 2-note polyphonic, which is equal to mono, the way I have it set up, because I've got samples and key groups that are note on and samples that are note off, which requires actually 2 notes of polyphony for every 1 note. So I'll change this to 3. Watch what happens. So that's not the fix, but that's a workaround, at least until they get that figured out on Akai's engineering side. Okay, so that's quirky number 2. So we're a ways from a gold master. The Q link. Okay, that is an issue. So let's go load another sound from the expansion pack. I'm going to go back in here and load the mono synth. So as you can see, instead of loading and purging an existing sound, I decided to load it to a new track, and that's a very, very nice thing that they did, because the new 3.0 firmware is moving in the direction where you can do a lot of the same things from various different pages depending on what you're doing, and that keeps you from backtracking. So the MPC 2.0 software, which to be honest is hard to go back to when it comes to session management, because you would have to load a sound, and then often you have to go, after you load it, you would have to go back, specify a track, choose the input category, and then find that sound and then dial it in. And then you'd have to name the track. So that's an example of an action that's indicative of 2.0, where you take one step forward to try to advance yourself, and you take 4 steps back in order to do one action. So this is very welcome. All right. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but those of you that wanted to assign modulation and all sorts of stuff to these Q links, which is done in program right here, in Program Edit, you simply tap the Q link, and then you could either learn a function, or you can manually, which the menu has been increasingly expanded, where you can go into the key groups, and you can, for example, go into here, and you can assign all these different parameters, okay, into these Q links, all right? And there's a ton of stuff you can assign. So far, what I haven't been able to do successfully, I think I did it one time and I couldn't repeat it after, is you have to go into each key group. So in here, there's 14 key groups. You have to manually assign whatever you want, which is nice in some cases, but I'd like to see a macro where you can, in this list where it says all key groups, like all layers. So I'd like to see that where if I want to do ADSR onto these, I can do it for all key groups at one time. Now there's a way you can go into MIDI Learn, go into Edit, all right, and go into, let's just do the release of the amp envelope, and I can toggle this right like that. And if I go into here, see how it's still blinking? Okay. So now I'm going to have to go and play with this a little bit. It's just not working like it should. Okay. See right here? And it's on the amp release, but then, so that needs some work. It's not working right. All right, and by the way, when you manually do it and you save the program, that assignment doesn't save with the program, at least in the times that I've tried to do it. So there's something wrong with it. So that needs to be fixed. And like I said, I reported that to Kai. And so one of the last things that's kind of a big deal for me is there's no longer any way to change the time signature here, at least that I have not known. Now, I've always requested to have it done here on the page here, right under the sequence bar, to have time signature change. And now, having said that, in 2.0 you could do it, but it wasn't very intuitive. So not only do I want that feature to exist in 3.0, but I don't want it to exist in the way they did it in 2.0. So I'm glad to not see it there, because my hope is that they're working on a more intuitive way to change time signatures. So that's really sort of the general basics of and then there's other things. Let's see, that were just so one of the small things, and then this will conclude the video, is that let's see, let's just go into a drum program right here. Okay, I thought this was going to be real gimmicky, this whole little mini screen, but it really became something that I deemed to be fairly useful. So here, okay, all right. So this happens to be on 2 because that's what I set it on earlier in here. But check this out. So here it is here. So I'm going to take it off here. I'm going to take it off the 2-bar and make it sequence length this time. This kind of gives you, without having to leave this page, like double-clicking this gives you sort of just a glance at where you are, just in case you've got to do an overdub. Now, if I want to erase this, I can see what I'm doing now. Spot erase. Using the destructive record, not using the erase button. And I found that to be a lot more useful when I thought it was sort of a gimmicky thing, just sort of eye candy, and it really became some of value for me. So there's a lot of other things to discover on here, but these are just the general points I wanted to bring up today. Like I said, those of you that are interested in using the beta, if you are going to use it, I would just stem everything out because the projects aren't very compatible when you go back and forth. And then also, like I said, encourage you to report anything that you see that's not working right, because it just ensures that we all have a better Gold Master when it gets released. So anyway, until next time, peace out.